Pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel, pretty little angel, pretty little, pretty little, pretty little angel. Pretty, pretty little angel eyes. Angel eyes, I really love you so.
Good day, viewer! I'm Mr. Jeffrey Pineda, a student of Mapua Institute of Technology, Intramuros, Manila, and of the course SFTY100, Section B5. And also, I'm a member of the group SFTYnatics, the civil engineering group in our class. So, our group is here to discuss about the fabrication of materials of a roof frame of a roofing system. So, let's now start with Mr. Lim for the discussion of our exercise 2, the process flow diagram of our case study. Mr. Lim?
Okay, good day. I'm here to talk about the materials, the process, and the emissions for our process flow diagram about roofing systems. First, let's talk about the materials. We need an angle bar, a welding machine, also a cutting machine. For the welding machine and the cutting machine to work, we need a cutting disc. And for the welding machine, cutting machine, and the cutting disc to work, we need a gas tank with acetylene and oxygen. These four, for it to work, it's called oxy-acetylene welding and cutting. Okay, now let's go to the process. First, before anything else, we need to have our materials. It should be there for things to be possible. Then we prepare our welding and cutting machine, as you can see here. Okay, after you prepare the welding and cutting machine, you prepare the cutting machine first to form a new angle bar. After the angle bar was formed, you prepare your welding machine and you form the welding machine to your desired form or shape. Depends on what you want or what you need in your roofing systems. After you weld it, you already have the fabricated product. And after you have the fabricated product, it depends to you if you want to paint it or put marks on it. Well, it depends to you. After that, the quality control checking. Here in the quality control checking, we can have two things to be checked here: the physical properties of the fabricated product, or the real properties of its product, just like if it's suitable for our roofing systems. Can it withstand the load of our house? That's under quality control checking. And if the place where the material was built is far from the place where it should be installed, it will be delivered, of course. But if it's just in the place where it will be installed, it will just be served. Alright. For the storage of waste materials, as what I can see here is we need to store our waste materials properly. Just like what I have said here, the gas tank. If the gas tank is empty, it still has the small residues of acetylene and oxygen. It should be placed properly, disposed properly. It should be on its own. Nothing else should be there, because that's some kind of hazardous. And of course, the empty cans of our paint, it should be stored properly also. And if it's already a waste, it will not be used again. It should be stored properly. Okay, now the emissions, as what I have said earlier, acetylene and oxygen, it comes from the gas tank. Harmful smells come from the painting, and the sparks come from the welding and the cutting machine.
Thank you for that wonderful explanation, Mr. Lim. So, let's now go on to our exercise 3, which composed of the process, the hazards, the classification of the hazards, and the OSHS provisions that are related to the hazard and our process. So, Mr. Alvarez,
I'll be discussing about exercise 3, which is composed of the process, the hazards, the classification of hazards, and the OSHS provisions based on the OSHS handbook. The first step in making our project the finished roof frame is the purchasing of materials. We all know that purchasing of materials is the process of buying the needed things in order for us to make our project. So after we bought our needed materials, we may have seen difficulties basically in lifting, because we all know that these angle bars, gas tanks, welding machine, cutting discs, and painting materials are that heavy. The next step is the preparation of the cutting machine. So in this process, it is very harmful for us because we might insert our fingers in the cutting while we are putting on the cutting disc on the machine. The next step is the cutting. In this method, we all need the PPEs or the personal protective equipment, because these cutting machines with cutting discs may cut our fingers. Then these cutting machines are connected into an acetylene and oxygen tanks, which may have some effects in our health. The next method or the next process is the welding. Basically, welding is the process of combining two metals together. So, in welding machine is connected into an acetylene tank and oxygen tank, just like the cutting machine, which may affect our health. The next method will be the putting on of markings. So, in this step, this is not really that hazardous compared to what we have in cutting and in welding. Then the next one will be the painting. Painting is the process of putting on paints in our project or in our product. We may have some difficulties in breathing when we are painting. The next one is the quality control, checking by visual observation. In this step, this is just like an inspection where one person may be looking after kung pasado ba ito sa standards na kinakailangan natin. So, in this process, we may have some difficulties also in inspecting. Di naman siya ganun ka-harmful, pero meron ding sigurong effect, just like nung sa first steps. Then finally, the delivery of the finished product. In this process, the products are ready for delivery. So it is somehow harmful because we all need to lift the finished project.
For further explanations, these are the hazard classifications. These are some OSHS provisions retrieved from the OSHS manual. For this process, the classification of hazards are safety and ergonomics. Ergonomics are for lifting the materials. You may acquire MSD or musculoskeletal system disorders by lifting these heavy materials. So the OSHS provision for this process is number 1150, Materials Handling and Storage. For this process, the classification of hazards are physical and safety. The OSHS provisions for this process are 1200, machine guarding, and the PPE or personal protective equipment for the preparation of the cutting machine. For this process, the classification of hazards are physical, safety, and chemical. Chemical is for the acetylene and oxygen tanks. The OSHS provisions for this process are 1100 gas and electric welding and cutting operation, number 1140 explosives, number 1200 machine guarding, and also the PPE or personal protective equipment, and lastly, number 1090 for hazardous materials. For this process, the classification of hazards are physical, safety, and chemical, and the OSHS provisions for this process are number 1100 or gas and electric welding and cutting operation, number 1140 explosives, number 1200 machine guarding, and the PPE or personal protective equipment, and 1090 hazardous. For this process, the classification of hazards are safety and ergonomics. Ergonomics for the repetitive action of putting the markings for the roof frame. The OSHS provisions for this process is 1150 or materials handling and storage. For this process, the classification of hazards are chemical, safety, and ergonomics. The OSHS provisions for this process are number 1090 hazardous materials applied for the paints, number 1150 materials handling and storage. For this process, the classification of hazard is safety because you may trip on the painted fabricated product during the observation. The OSHS provision for this process is number 1150 materials handling and storage. For this process, the classification of hazard is ergonomics. The placement of the finished product on the truck by lifting may also give us MSD or musculoskeletal system disorders. The OSHS provision for this process is number 1150 materials handling and storage. Thank you for watching our video lecture presentation. Again, I'm Mr. Jose Jeffrey Zoilo F. Pineda, a member of the group SFTY100.
Pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel eyes, pretty little angel, pretty little